Hey.
Riding through the city with a check on me. Riding through the hood with a tech on me. 28 make a double. I ain't never trying to cut her, so explain why these motherfuckers slept on me. 8 ball till I reached me a kilo. Made enough, then I went to see Rico. Pay the fool if you acting like Rico. I'ma tell you.
Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And I know it looks like I'm like a bona fide reactor now because I have this fancy mic, but I only pull this out on very special occasions. The reason why is I can feel myself start to get a little cold or something because my throat's starting to get a little scratchy, so I got my hot tea, and also this means that I'm going to try not to yell, and so I'm going to try to analyze by talking in a normal voice versus projecting like I normally do, just so I can continue to do these healthily without having to completely stop entirely. But if my voice gives out, then obviously I won't be able to do these. So we're going to hopefully track through my marathon of ATEEZ as well as XG during this month, and today we're going to be taking a look at ATEEZ KQ Fellaz Yunho solo performance video. So this was done around pre-debut is what it looks like, just like some of the other ones I've already taken a look at, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'm assuming that Yunho is a member of ATEEZ, and this is more of his solo performance, so I don't know if the other dancers are going to be ATEEZ as well, or if they're just considered backup. I don't quite know, but we're gonna go ahead and take a watch.
I'm in love with the coco. Ride through the city with a check on me. Ride through the hood with a tech on me. 28 make a double. I ain't never trying to cut her, so explain why these motherfuckers slept on me. 8 ball till I reached me a kilo. Made enough, then I went to see Rico. Pay the fool if you acting like Rico. I'ma tie him up, tape his ass like Nico.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that Yunho's the one that's being featured here. Obviously, he's the only one that doesn't have a mask on. Yeah. Hey. Okay, look at him. What a vibe. I also like how they close the frame like this. It's kind of fun. Initial thoughts. I do know the choreography was done by, I think it's Scott Forsyth, right? From Brotherhood. And I remember my very first performance video I watched of ATEEZ. I said it gave major Brotherhood vibes, so I think it's really cool that I get to see this here in a soloist form. Yunho held it down with the dancers. I always pay mad respect to those who are pursuing more of a performer stance. They're able to hold it down with those whose main profession is dancing, because it shows that they're very proficient in that craft and in, like, for themselves. Starting right here from the top, my hope is that I would be able to recognize him whenever I see the debut of all the members. Like, I would hope, like, my goal whenever I do these marathons is to at least know half of the group. I think I got, because when I just finished 17s, I think I was able to remember maybe 6 people out of the 13. Just from natural reacting and having people commentate and really help me when it comes to certain features and things like that. And so I kind of hope for the same thing here. I do know San, but I don't think I can pick him out right now because I haven't seen them as, like, in their own individual aesthetics. And I do know some of you guys have already done a really great job of informing me that these were meant more so to show their competency in the craft, not to show their individual sides quite yet. That's what the K-pop debut is for. And I'm like, you know, I'm totally vibing with that. That's fine. I am, however, also looking at it from the lens of we see with XG, because I'm doing a marathon of them as well. I'm able to see some individuality between those members. Just like if, you know, Yunho, he has his moment. I don't know if we get to see something like this from all of the other members. I know I did from San, because that was the very first ATEEZ video I ever watched, was the Imagine Dragon ones that came out in 2023. So that was quite the intro for me. So but that's just like kind of where I'm coming from on my lens of, I would really love to see more individual features of solo performances, regardless if they deem themselves as like a main dancer, because I just think it's fun to see them pursue that type of creative outlet. But then the same could be said about, you know, solo tracks, you know, with producers and singers and rappers of the kind. So, but yeah. Okay, so from the top, if you notice, I had to change my camera, and I also had to take a little sip of my tea so I can keep going. From the top, I really like the integration, how they all kind of vibed in, joined together very well. The energy was really nice, where he goes da da, you know, and then he sets it up right here in the chest. Was really enjoyable to see, bringing it through. Now with Scott, he does a fabulous job of creating gimmicky choreography, really using his aesthetic or his humor to be able to really appropriately and effectively bring about complex concepts, but do them in such a tastefully simple way. I would say some of the best things to note would be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from Brotherhood. You would have Love Connection. You also have, they even took their merchandise from a black hoodie and they made a whole set out of it. I think that's one of my personal favorites, just from the sheer creativity of it. They take a lot of those types of concepts and they make them to where they're very gimmicky, playful, tasteful. And so Scott's choreo is really sometimes the focal point of those sets, a lot of times. But with seeing this here, he's definitely, I would say Yunho is doing a really great job holding down the actual posture of how you're supposed to do some of this choreo. I like the boom, 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 like the rebounds using with the hands is really fun. Dropping it down the chest, bringing it up, and the swipe, swipe, swipe was really enjoyable to see with the dip and the dip. And then we have more dancers join, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's still, you know, he's the 1 point feature. It's really smart that they ended up with an even number of dancers and not including him, because that's going to really help him stay as the feature. He's also the only one that does not have a mask on. That also helps in knowing who they want us to feature as well. Camera also is going to play a huge role. My big note here is, like I've already mentioned in the other performance clips, and it's something that I do expect to see shift over the course of seeing Yunho and the other ATEEZ members establish themselves as a group in sound, as well as movement quality and who they end up working with. I know there is a crew that they end up working with for the majority of their discography, and we're gonna start seeing a lot of fingerprints of that group within some of their movement quality as they progress forth as a group. And I think right now we are still seeing a much stiffer posture in executing the movements. They're really choosing to, and I'm just not just with Yunho, but with all of them, really going about it in the way of, what's the word? Really using the extremities to justify versus the entire body. There's really not a ton of groove that's happening in this, because grooves really originate from the torso, and there's a pocket that you pursue within a groove, and we're not quite seeing that. It's mostly just content, and I still feel that way with these performances. I do know eventually my mindset or this will change. That is a very natural thing whenever you see people grow. I said that about Dino's Danceology, and then we were able to see his shift and his growth through my marathon through that. As well as 17 as a whole, just seeing their development as a group, all of those things, I'm totally expecting that here. And so as he goes and he builds it, love this energy in this transition. Looking up at the hand really helps us be able to know focal point where he wants us to look at. That's a really great shift of energy. He takes it, noticing whenever he looked at his hand, whenever he did a lower body part, it really read more captivatingly, because we weren't focused on the lower half nearly as much as we were noticing on the upper half because of where he was looking. So it was a really smart choice on his part to do that. That was cool too, where he also had his arms out. He created that moment, but also with everybody, they complemented that, branching it through. Yeah, so it goes boom, doo-doo, throw it. That was a really fun moment. Yeah, police, do. So they're just building it. It's really nice content, great choreo. Think it's fun. That travel there, and then he brings it through. He's taking a more suave approach. Love the energy that we got to see, a little performance presence here in this moment. Was really nice, vibing through, and da. That was fun. Yeah, that was cool. Do. And then creating a moment of just him. And then he ended up twisting. And notice whenever he did this rotational moment, everybody was reacting to it with their body. So that was a really, really cool moment. So let's go back and watch that real quick. So he goes and he goes da. Everybody else compliments with their hands and their body. And I love that moment, that kick through. That was cool having him kick. He stayed up. Most of them dropped to create a really nice transition moment going over here. He is still our focal point, obviously. You also see that he's wearing a lighter shade of a utility vest. So I think that was a really great choice as well. Yeah, and he goes da. And notice he goes da. And you see this right here, like, that's the kind of thing where when you're in it, a lot of times your face is gonna come across this way, you know. And he goes, and they have a little hit them folks, but he has a reverb added. It's not just an accent, it's a boom with a reverb. There's a little bit of a bass registered with how he came across. So I'm very much a fan of that. These are really nice things that I'm able to bring up to somebody who would be considered an idol. A lot of times, I would say with the boy groups especially, I'm able to see it a lot more now, where there's a lot of reverbs, a lot of rebounds, a lot of popping fundamentals integrated within the choreography itself. And that's really nice for me to see, because popping, honestly, when you break down street styles, popping is one of those styles where you do have names of movements, right? So there's strutting, there's like, what is it? Honestly, the names of movements are technically more so names of techniques. So you have pops, and you have dime stops, and you have ticking, and you have strobing. And those are more textures in their techniques and dynamics within movements, versus this is a Fresno pop, right? So there's like a move or a reference point to where a pop originates from. In comparison to house, you have the baracho and the salsa step and the loose leg. Like, there's actual names with sequences of steps. Popping, it's more names to techniques and names to textures is how I teach it a lot of times, because it is a little different. And you notice with popping, especially in choreography, it's one of the most seamless street styles that gets transitioned into choreo as a dynamic, not just in street style choreo, but in contemporary as well. That's a really big avenue where I was noticing that a lot as well. Having this energy here, I love the little chugs with the feet together. Super fun. Notice they were looking down. That helped us be able to reinstate that focal point at the lower part of the body. Switching it through, bring it back in. Notice once again, he's one who's really committing. He's committing to the movement, honestly, significantly more than the dancers are. I really appreciate his effort, and you can see his effort really showcase here. And I'm very appreciative when I get to see that. For me, when it comes to dancers, their job's to dance. So I really feel like normally there is a certain level of expectation that comes with the scope of a dancer, regardless if you're helping as a friend or if that's your profession. There's a kind of a not unspoken, it's just a respectful mannerism thing to do. Do your best in all of it, you know, and I feel like they're doing a very nice job, but I really feel like he's stepping up, and he's kind of setting that standard of they gotta pull up to the level of execution that he is, in the sense of the range of the movements, not just doing the movements. Of course, having he still needs to work on his grooves within these types of movements and pockets, because that's what's going to really enhance it and take it to the next level on the type of track this is. But I would say the dancers have there's a higher expectation asked of them as well, because they're not the ones carrying this. He has to carry it with them, because he's the feature, right? And it's a dance performance. This isn't his track. So having this go down, boom, boom, with that speed change, that was a really nice moment that we saw there with the wave through, up, right into more of a fuller range energy, but also boom, boom, pa, doom, doom, and he's about to hit on those bases, which is really nice. I like that. Loco, and he dips it. So notice that he's here. And then what he does is he bleeds the fingers over to showcase more of a moment where he's allowing the hand to transition, which I think super, super dope. I love that moment. There's also with just Scott Forsythe's choreo, I've always loved his swivels, his speed changes, and his choices and how he redirects. And I think we really get to see a lot of that here. I would say Yunho did a great job emulating Scott's choreo, for sure. And I hope, honestly, that I get to see ATEEZ specifically kind of cover these types of choreographers again to kind of see their growth. That's what this reminds me of, is I think it would be a really cool thing to see in the future, but I think it's totally fine if I never really get that. But I like this little moment that just happened with the footwork, with the glide through and the kick, and it goes boom, and then notice how it goes from double feet, and then he chooses to they suspend, or they take one of the feet off the ground, and it creates a nice moment to where you can kind of take that extra foot and take it where you want it to go, versus just having them both on the ground. Shifting your weight over to one side in that transition with the switching, or the weight shift going onto the balls of the feet, having that foot drape around the back is really great. It allows for more variance in your footwork, and I think it's just a nice choreographic combination. I think Yunho and ATEEZ has great taste in choreographers. I'll say that too. The fact that this is how they're choosing to showcase themselves as, you know, trainees, it's mad respect for them. And honestly, because I'm reacting to XG, I would extend the same courtesy to them. Really nice to see we get to see just more of a global perspective of movement outside of just ATEEZ and the choreographers like Scott. Like, it's nice to see Scott's work on somebody not from Canada, or not somebody from the same scene. I think that's really cool, personally. I love that dive through with the throw, and they all walk away, him having his moment. So that was a fun moment of him just kind of walking to the back. Now, do I think this was the best performance in the entire world? No. But do I think that he held his own with dancers? Absolutely. Do I think that this was a really great presentation of how Yunho expresses himself physically? Potentially. But also, I don't quite know these members or their movement quality quite enough yet. But it's also going to go back to once I see this debut, because I feel like this pre-debut, I'm seeing a lot of pre-debut right now, and I haven't even seen their comeback yet. At this point that I'm filming this, they have a comeback out right now, but they don't have the dance practice out yet, so I'm waiting for that to come out in order for me to really get a taste of 2023 ATEEZ, you know. But I do think that I'm very excited to see how Yunho develops as well, because I feel like hopefully I'll be able to recognize him when I see him with some of the other members, because I just saw an entire set of him being featured, right? But all in all, pretty good, pretty stout, honestly, for an idol, like being deemed an idol or a trainee, being able to showcase a dance concept or hold it down with a Scott Forsythe's choreo, because this is something I forgot to mention. Scott does advanced level choreography. It's very polyrhythmic, and it is very difficult to emulate his posture in his pocket. Very similar to Melvin Tim, but they're very different. Even though they may overlap, like Quarterback is a great example, like that kind of track, they can overlap on the type of songs that they go for, but how they interpret the tracks are very different, but they are polyrhythmic in nature. So honestly, Yunho did a really good job. It doesn't look like they watered down the choreo at all. They even added dynamics, they added formation changes and transitions, which is very impressive. And I think that that's something that Yunho, I would say, is one who can pursue intermediate, especially advanced level choreography. And it appears that his retention is pretty stout, because he held his own very well, and he was able to have a couple of moments to perform and look natural, and I think that's an A+ to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this may have come across a little bit more subdued, and that's because I'm trying to make sure I don't blow my voice out so I can keep doing these for a long time. And you know, with the winter season, at least at this point in time that I'm recording this, it's a little bit trickier to stay healthy during the holidays. But I am really happy and fortunate that I'm able to use something like this to where I can healthily keep doing these videos in a timely manner, because I really love taking a look at groups and seeing where they grow and where they can just be able to see them from where they started to where they are now. I think is a really fun opportunity that I have, because a lot of people tend to watch groups when in their inception. You know, there's a couple groups that I've known since they debuted, you know, but and I won't have this type of opportunity with them, but with other groups, they've been out for a while, they're still going strong, so it's a really great opportunity to kind of see what they're doing nowadays, but also go back and understand where they came from, so I can really understand understand the true context of what they bring to the table within the industry and as a group. And I think that's really fun, and I end up growing in that process too. And I get to know so many people who are fans of these groups, like you guys. And the discussions that we have is just, they feel so progressive, and I feel like everybody gets to learn something new with each other, and I just love that sense of community. So if you want to see more ATEEZ, XG, K-pop dance content from China, Japan, Korea, America, I have so much of it all over YouTube, but I have so much more on Patreon, especially with copyright stuff. I got a lot more on Patreon, especially if you're one who really enjoys Street Fighter series as well as full episode reactions. All of that is there for you to glean and enjoy. But if not, I will do my best to have as many excerpts like this posted on YouTube in a timely manner. I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.